So we've got to deal with Nigeria, which is moving to implement a new form of tax called excise duty on carbonated drinks made in the country. The new tax forms part of the additional revenue horizon that the Ministry of Finance is targeting. The new excise duty has, however, been criticized in some quarters, such as the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria and the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, or CPPE. Muda Yusuf is the CEO of the Center, the Cppe, and he joins me now for a chat to this development. Good evening to you. Thanks for making it on the program. Thank you for coming through, sir. It's a Monday, so let's get down to business. How does this excise duty really work as a form of tax on manufacturers, whether for those who are doing alcohol, like Nigerian breweries, Guinness, those international breweries, and then those who are going to be doing carbonated drinks?
Times for practically all investors in the Nigerian economy. But it is perhaps even more so for those who are in manufacturing. Already the manufacturing sector, investors are grappling with very serious challenges with the foreign exchange in terms of access to foreign exchange. They are grappling with serious problems with the depreciation of the currency. They are grappling with the challenges of weak purchasing power of the consumers. And only very recently, we are having very serious challenge with the energy cost. Diesel cost is now over 700 naira per liter. So if you have all this gamut of pressure on manufacturing and many other sectors, certainly this is not the time to be contemplating of imposing a tax on manufacturing, because excise duty is a tax on manufacturing essentially. It's a tax on every product that is getting out of the factory. Of course, the authorities may argue that they are supposed to pass it on to your consumers. But these days, we know what issues businesses are facing with consumer resistance. How much of your increase in cost can you pass on to your consumers? So invariably, many investors, many manufacturers are absorbing all of these increases. So that is why we are saying that at a time like this, and given the context in which manufacturers are operating, given the fact that the government itself is looking up to manufacturers for the creation of jobs, of course, in addition to other sectors, we are appealing that this excise duty should be put on hold for now, so that this temperature can cool down a bit. I mean, there's a barrage of challenges, and this is affecting operating costs, it's affecting production costs, and unless we don't want manufacturers to exist, particularly those of them that are at the SME level. So the shock on them is quite enormous. So we are appealing that, at least for now, because this tax is directly on domestic production. And it may even exacerbate the problem of competitiveness between what we produce locally and what is imported, because this is targeted mainly at domestic production. So that is the basis of this argument, that
yes,
we should review the position.
Is that a good time, sir, sometime in the future, when you think this excise duty should be reintroduced as a form of tax? It exists in other jurisdictions here in Africa as well in the world. So when is a good time?
Well, for taxation, you may say that there is no good time, but we should allow the economy itself to recover. We should allow the manufacturing sector to recover. Many of them have not recovered from the shocks of the pandemic. Now you have this shock coming from the Russian-Ukraine crisis. So what I will say is that we should allow this very serious crisis phase to pass. Nobody can deny that we are facing a major crisis. And if you want investment to continue, if you want jobs to continue to be created in the real sector of the economy, then we have to allow this crisis phase to pass. Then we can think of reintroducing. But let me say this. It is not that we don't have even excise duty now. We have excise duty on alcohol, spirits, and all of that. We have excise duty on cigarettes. So for some of them, it's even a contemplation of increasing the duty. That is the issue. And for the non-alcoholic beverages, it's a question of new excise duty being imposed on them. And that we feel that it's not appropriate at this time, at least from the point of view of having to support the manufacturers and give them some breathing space. So that is why we are saying that the government should have a rethink. The Manufacturers Association had a meeting with the president. These issues were put on the table before the president. And the president promised them that he was going to instruct the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Trade and Investment to engage with them before any steps are taken. That engagement has not taken place. So we want a better engagement so that we can have what we can describe as an appropriate timing for the imposition of this tax.
Okay, so here we are getting ready for the February inflation report is going to be released this week by the Statistics Office. What's your expectation?
Well, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Things are so bad in terms of prices. We have been experiencing galloping inflation, at least for the past 6 months or 1 year. Some prices have doubled. Some have increased by 50%, even though we are talking about inflation of 15.6%. If you talk to many of the citizens, the basket of their consumption or the basket of goods that they buy have increased by over 50% in the last 6 months. So I don't expect any serious moderation in inflation. It's likely to further increase or go up. I mean, given all the variables that we can see, from energy costs to exchange rate to transportation costs and all of that. All of these factors are putting a lot of pressure on prices. So I don't expect any reduction.
So if we put all of this before the central bank and the monetary policy committee, when they meet in about a week or two from now, what do you think do you think the MPC, the monetary policy, should decide?
The variables driving inflation now are not monetary variables. We are talking about energy costs. We are talking about transportation costs. Because many of the trucks that are moving things across the country, they are running on diesel. They are the ones moving the food items from one part of the country to the other. They are the ones moving finished good products. They are the ones moving raw materials. They are running on diesel. Many factories are running on diesel generators. So all of these factors are not exactly monetary factors. So if we begin to talk about MPR or CRR, that may not change the equation. That may not solve much problem.
So what's going to change it?
I don't expect.
So what's going to change it?
What will change? What will change it are all these parameters that are driving inflation. How are we going to bring down the energy costs? How are we going to reduce transportation costs? How are we going to address the issue of insecurity? How are we going to address the structural problems? These are the more fundamental issues. If we are tinkering with race, it's just going to be cosmetic. And in any case, the financial system is already very tight. We have a CRR of 27.5%. And if you talk to operators in the sector, they will tell you that effective CRR for many of them is over 50%. So what more tightening do we want to do? And what will that achieve? So I don't expect much to happen from the monetary side, except, of course, the fiscal, the monetary, I mean, the CBN financing of deficits. That is also contributing to inflation. That is the only aspect of monetary issues that I'm concerned about. As much as possible, we need to moderate that. Because when the CBN finances deficits, it is high-powered money, and it is highly inflationary. So that component of the monetary involvement in deficit, I think, is something that we need to watch. We need to keep it strictly within what the CBN Act says.
Okay, we thank you for your time and insights, as always, this evening. Muda Yusuf, CEO at the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.